Up with KREM begins now.
Well, welcome to Up with KREM on our Wednesday morning. I'm Jen York. Now, we will get to your headlines and weather here in just a few minutes. But first, local leaders say Spokane County could enter phase 2 of reopening before the long holiday weekend. And this morning, we are continuing our conversation with Spokane Mayor Nadine Woodward, joining us on the phone this morning, talking about the county's plan moving forward. So, Mayor, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Getting back into our conversation here. Now, if Spokane does enter phase 2 by the weekend, how can the county ensure that people will be safe?
That's a great question, and that's a question that I get all the time. Our restaurants, our businesses that are prepared to enter into phase 2, so that includes inside dining for restaurants, retail inside, but with lots of restrictions for retailers, pet groomers, salons, more manufacturing, more construction, all the guidelines that these businesses will be following to keep the community safe have come down from the state. And in most cases, in plenty of time for these businesses to be prepared to protect their employees and also to protect their customers. So some of those businesses will have expectations for customers when they walk through their doors. Many will require their patrons to wear masks. They'll have sanitizer at the front door. The restaurants will be sanitizing frequently throughout the day. So as you enter these businesses, just know that there will be some expectations from patrons, but all of those expectations and guidelines are to keep our community safe. And we're at a position now where we are, our data shows that we are ready to move to this next phase. Our health officer, Dr. Bob Lutz with the health district, would not have signed on for us to get to this point if he didn't think our community was in the position to be going to the next level. So we are very confident that our petition, that our plan is based on data and science, is all about public health and the protection of our community.
And is there a plan in place for how those safety protocols will be enforced?
Well, it's going to be as we have been operating under the governor's order, stay home, stay healthy order, voluntary compliance. We have always been operating under the approach of education over citation with businesses that are opening and with patrons, our people who are going out into the community and frequenting businesses. This is all about taking personal responsibility and voluntary compliance, just as it has been in our COVID response. I mean, we've asked people to social distance. We've asked people to make sure that they have proper hygiene and etiquette, and that they're staying home when they're sick. All of these things that we've expected of our community has responded, and that's why we flattened the curve. That's why we haven't seen huge spikes in cases outside of the veterans' home, which was a very unfortunate situation, a congregate living facility. Those types of facilities need extra protection. But I think as a community, we've done our job, and now it's time to move to the next phase.
Now, let's say we do enter phase 2 as planned here this weekend, and we'll be in that phase for 3 weeks. Let's say we move into phase 3. What's it going to take to get there? And do you think Spokane County will open before the rest of the state?
Well, that's a really good question, Jen, and we're just going to see how this goes. Now, in order to stay in phase 2, there are criteria that we have to make sure we meet. So that's going to be our focus. And one of the big criteria is that we cannot have more than 10 cases for every 100,000 people in our county over a 2-week period. So for a county the size of Spokane, which is 500,000 plus, we cannot have more than 50 cases in a 2-week period, which I think is extremely doable for us. I mean, we haven't had more than single-digit increases in cases for the last 5 weeks outside of the VA home outbreak. But those are things that we're going to have to be watching the data very, very closely before we can even consider moving on to the next phase and staying in phase 2.
All right, Mayor Woodward, thank you so much for your time this morning. We certainly appreciate it. Of course, we'll have more of this on KREM.com this morning if you want to look into phase 2 and how it applies to Spokane County or to where you're watching from this morning. So again, thank you, Spokane Mayor Nadine Woodward, for being with us this morning. Here in the
Thank you,
meantime, we
Jen.
want to turn our attention to our other headlines here and toss things to Joshua in studio.
Thank you very much, Jen. Yeah, just to continue that conversation we just had with Mayor Woodward, Spokane County, yes, could move into phase 2 as early as this weekend. This comes on the heels of Governor Jay Inslee announcing new guidelines yesterday, which allows Spokane County to apply for that phase 2 set of Inslee's Safe Start Reopening Plan. Now, under this plan, let's visit what would open. Restaurants, salons, camping, pet services, and a number of small gatherings would all be allowed in Spokane County.
Our advocacy has paid off, and I'm grateful that the governor has listened to us and that he acted.
Now, counties are eligible to apply for phase 2 of reopening, as Mayor Woodward just mentioned a few minutes ago, if they have less than 10 new cases per 100,000 residents over a 14-day span. So the application criteria also includes recommendations from local public health officers, a vote from the Board of Health, testing data and information, and a vote from the Board of County Commissioners. And as we've mentioned in the past here on Up with KREM, Spokane County leaders have already completed these steps in an application that was recently denied by the Washington Secretary of Health. But as Spokane leaders are getting ready to apply that second time, Mayor Woodward has told us she's already in a way looking ahead also to phase 3. And of course, Mayor Woodward is encouraging everyone to continue following social distancing protocols and also to continue wearing a mask in the days and weeks ahead. Spokane, by the way, one of 10 counties that the governor announced by name yesterday that can now apply to reopen into phase 2. Some of the other counties include Adams, Clark, Lewis, and Jefferson. And this is, of course, in addition to 12 other small counties who have already been approved to reopen into phase 2. In the meantime, local restaurants are working quickly to get ready for the possibility of being reopened by this weekend. Some of them have spent the last 2 months converting to takeout only, which of course has led to a big drop in revenue. Our Nicole Hernandez joins us live this morning with more on what the dining experience could look like in phase 2. Nicole, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Joshua. So if Governor Inslee lets Spokane County and the other counties around us move into phase 2, that means people will be able to start eating in at restaurants again. But for now, eating in at restaurants will still look pretty different. So owners will only be able to open about half of their dining room areas, and customers will only be allowed to sit at tables in groups of 5 people or less. Now, we talked with Adam Hegstead. He's the owner of a few popular restaurants here, including the Yards and Wandering Table, and he says preparing for phase 2 will not be easy.
It's like opening a brand new restaurant. I mean, that's essentially what we're doing is we're taking our current operation and opening up a brand new restaurant again.
Hegstead and other restaurants will have to meet certain guidelines of phase 2 to open, and they'll have to bring back laid off staff members. On top of restaurants, other businesses are also getting ready to reopen this weekend. We talked to the owner of Auntie's Bookstore. They've had to go through this stay-at-home order with just online sales and pickups, which doesn't compare at all to a regular day of business before the pandemic. But the owner says that at this point, their #1 priority is to make sure they have a safe and healthy place for their customers to return to.
Gotta have an idea what you want, march in there, get what you want and get out and let somebody else get in.
So Auntie's is able to do this because under phase 2, retail stores can start opening their doors again, and they will be allowed to do those in-store purchases as long as they follow a few extra guidelines. Live in Spokane, I'm Nicole Hernandez.
Thank you so much, Nicole. We appreciate it. Now, in response to Governor Inslee's announcement, what we want to do is kind of follow Mayor Woodward's lead and take a look at Spokane County by the numbers to see how we have actually fared over the past few months in meeting some of these new requirements. But before we do that, we want you to weigh in this morning, continue weighing in by letting us know how you would rate the reopening of Eastern Washington. You could do that by voting on our KREM 2 mobile app as we take a look at the latest numbers this morning. These are the latest coronavirus numbers from the Spokane Regional Health District. So far, if we look specifically at the month of May, there have only been 4 days that included new reported hospitalizations. You can see them as these 4 days that are in orange. We can also see that it's been almost 4 weeks since the last time county officials reported more than a double-digit number of confirmed cases. And over the last 20 days in the month of May, there have only been 11 days so far, there have been 11 days so far that show more than or less than 2 cases of the coronavirus. And that does include, by the way, these 2 little days last week, back-to-back days with 0 new reported cases, back-to-back days. We also want to take a look at how these numbers kind of pan out in terms of seeing the curve flatten over the past 2 weeks. So what I did here is highlighted the last 14 days, where we basically not only see that reported cases drop below 5 new cases potentially per day, but it's the first time since this started that we've actually seen projected numbers drop and stay below 5 potential new cases per day. The line also shows that at this rate, even with a little bit of a rise, we would stay below that threshold in the weeks ahead. Now, it is worth noting, though, that Governor Inslee has made a point that he expects numbers will go back up as reopening plans move forward. But this data sort of reinforces what Mayor Woodward said. These numbers show Spokane is decisively ready to fall into Inslee's plan to advance into phase 2 of reopening. Of course, as we see this data, we want to continue to also hear from you this morning. Weigh in on our poll. We'll be checking those numbers throughout the rest of the day. We're going to change gears just a little bit this morning, checking in with our own Evan Narani for a look outside on our Wednesday forecast. Evan, the Wednesday forecast, a continuation of what we've already seen the last few days, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, that's right. We've seen several days of rain. Today is going to be different in that it will probably be a day straight of rain. We previously had plenty of breaks for the sun to come out for a minute or two and, maybe a quick downpour of rain. But today is just in general going to be rainy for the hefty majority of the day. What we have as far as your rainfall totals go, well, some spots are expecting the possibility of an inch or more of rain. Down toward Pullman, we're looking at 2 inches of rain, 1.8 in Moscow, 1.5 in Lewiston, and just about an inch in Spokane. Coeur d'Alene is at 1.2 inches. Central Washington is going to see the lightest accumulations. We don't see all that much making its way through central Washington. Eastern Washington and North Idaho are going to be hit the hardest. A flood watch is in effect, obviously because of the additional rain that's expected. We've got that for North Idaho and the southeast corner of Washington. This could be upgraded to a flood warning in some spots if those threats become imminent. The flood warning that we do have on the screen is for the Okanagan County area. That's the Okanagan River, close to Tenasket. We also have a wind advisory from 2 p.m. until 8 p.m. in effect. That is due to 40 to 50 mile per hour gusts expected this afternoon. So it's going to be a breezy day too. This next wave of moisture is just moving in our direction. You can see how south of Ritzville, we've seen this band of precipitation just slowly move farther through the I-90 area and up even into the Spokane County line. And then another area of moderate to heavy downpours of rain is just farther off to the east of state line. And that could move in the area of Spokane County too. So we, all in all, your hour-by-hour forecast are probably going to see plenty of rain. 56 degrees is where we see those temperatures going, if not warming up just a few degrees more to the upper 50s. We've got another quick break in store. Thanks for joining us here on the CW22. We're back with many more stories and weather after this.
Right now is a time for action. That's why USAA is giving payment relief options to eligible members so they can pay for things like groceries before they worry about their insurance or credit card bills. Discover all the ways we're helping members today.